Doghouse Racing League is proud to be sponsored by Shoney's. Shoney's is today's all-American kitchen, open daily for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Shoney's guests can count on quality, delicious food along with warm, friendly service. Stop by one of the West Virginia locations to try their freshly prepared legendary breakfast bars. And don't forget to take home a whole strawberry pie. Shoney's, delicious food and friendly service since 1947. Are you looking for sports merchandise for your favorite teams, apparel, jerseys, headwear, hard goods, and looking to be involved with NASCAR? Fanatics is your one-stop shop. Fanatics is partnered up with all major professional sports leagues, as well as hundreds of collegiates and pro teams. Join them now at Fanatics. And if you use the link down below in the description, you'll be able to help out the Doghouse Racing League. While using that link, all commissions go to the Doghouse Racing League, which helps fund prizes and goods for the drivers out on track. Thank you so much for Fanatics, and enjoy the show. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting on your Thursday night. It has been quite a while since we've got to cover the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series, but we are finally back for more racing action. 5 races have happened before tonight. We get ready for race number 6, as tonight's race is going to be a fun one for the Group 6 135 here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Thank you so much to Group 6, a former primary sponsor, but tonight it's just a racetrack sponsor. Remember to go rev up your brand's potential with Group 6 at every turn of the Doghouse racing season. As a creative marketing powerhouse, we're here to fuel up your success, accelerate your impact, and steer your brand towards victory. Group 6, where every race is an opportunity to outshine and outperform. Discover more at group6inc.com for more information on Group 6. Thank you for being tonight's race sponsor. But again, we are back. Happy giving you the coverage of the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series. We have been off an extra 2 weeks, sadly, because of the hurricanes that have been hitting Florida. A couple of drivers not able to race because of powers being out, internet being out. We've waited a few weeks, we've let both hurricanes pass, and now we've got ourselves a field set and ready to get back out on track, as it's going to be a fun one here this evening. Again, we're going to give you all the coverage here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me up at the booth, as always, is Zach Hall. And Zach, we're back. It's been a while. Last race we got to see was Daytona, but we're going to be testing our skills here at the mile course of New Hampshire.
Definitely great to be back, Sam. Very excited for tonight here at the Magic Mile, known as the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. This place is a very tricky racetrack, and especially with these next-gen race cars, it's going to be very interesting to see how these drivers attack the course. We got to see it earlier this week on our Freaky Fast Broadcasting. If folks were tuned in for that on Monday night for ISR Truck Series, and they were running all over this place. I mean, they were from on the apron all the way up through the 4th groove. So I definitely think see some interesting lines be right here tonight with this next gen car. So we'll get to see who's built what, because also open setup league like the Doghouse is, these guys have had a long break. Some of them may have used this time to really get their cars dialed in.
Yeah, a full month break. Last time we saw these drivers out on track, September 19th was the last time. We're back out on course for this evening. The schedule is going to be a little bit shaken up with the 2-week break, so we are going to be having the 2 weeks that we were going to be having racing. They're actually going to be pushed out even further, as the season was supposed to be ending in the middle of December. Well, with these extra 2 races that we had to push back, we will find ourselves finishing out this season in the middle of January. So these drivers know they got extra time. There's going to be more breaks throughout certain races. Going to give some better opportunities for some of these teams, as tonight with the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series. The one special twist with this series we haven't watched ever with the Shoney's drivers is the fact that it is an open setup league, meaning these drivers, they can still make adjustments even now if they're wanting. And Zach, that's the big thing that we're going to be seeing a difference here between Thursday nights and what we've seen on Mondays is the fact that Monday night with the trucks, it's fixed setup. open setup here this evening.
That's exactly right, Sam. Everybody could have a different type of feel. And what we mean by feel is how these race cars react to the racetrack. So, and when it comes to iRacing, the setups are very complex. There is tons of dials you can change, air pressure, I mean, shock rebounds, low speed, high speed. It's a full grouping on this next gen car of getting it dialed in perfectly. And it's gonna be interesting. Again, this is a flat track like it is. It actually, like we've seen earlier this week, has a lot of racing groove all around the track. I just wonder, will that change a little bit with the open setups? Will they find the real optimal groove because that fixed setup may just play into running that whole racetrack? Or will we see continuous where drivers on the apron, drivers on the third, fourth groove? It'll be really fun once we get that green flag ready to drop. But looks like about final few seconds of practice click through, and we're going to head to qualifying. So Sam, that's going to be important too, because this flat track, a tough one to pass also.
If you've never seen New Hampshire before, it is, like we said, very flat. Straightaways, 1 degree of banking through the corners. It progresses from 2 degrees up to 7, all the way up to the wall. Not a lot of help in the banking side of things, but we're going to see a lot of different spots where drivers can find that little bit of extra speed. Will anyone test the apron, or is it all about staying in between the white wall and the yellow line? We'll find out here very quickly, because it's qualifying. These drivers have 5 minutes to put down their fastest lap. They only have 2 laps to do so, and as long as you don't hit the wall, go into the grass, you will find your lap counting. And for all these drivers, they want to be up front. We have 29 drivers that officially have registered for this race, and track position could be so critical. And one of the drivers really to watch out for is Jamie Horn in the 98. He was top of the board for majority of practice, lost that top spot late to the likes of Brandon 6, our points leader, entering here this evening. But this 98 looking for that incredible pace for a chance to win and be one of our first-time winners of the season for himself, but also trying to continue on the trend. We've ran 5 races this season, and Zach, crazy to say, we've had 5 different pole sitters, ranging from Brandon 6, Shane Parrish, Gary Clune, Andrew St. Cor, and Jonathan Jennings are 5 different pole sitters.
It has definitely been a mixed bag when it comes to that, and that was a interesting start to a lap for Jamie Horn. He actually got disallowed because he hit the wall down in 1 and 2. So that warm-up lap to see how his tires were going to come in didn't work too well for him. We'll see what the 98 can do to produce some better times. So right now, looking at Brandon Feder place here in the 34, he's going to be coming around to start his first lap here, and it's going to be interesting. We saw earlier this week the trucks, it was the first lap was the quickest. We'll see these Cup Series cars will be the first or the second. Is Horn on his second time around, big pickup, he goes to the top of the board.
Massive pickup for the 98. Again, that first lap did not count. That was the second lap that he put in. Christopher Simon going to be trying his chance to surge up to the top of the board. Will come away second. Gary Clune will move up to third. But Brandon Federplace, one of the better drivers that we've seen throughout this season. He's been extremely quick, but his qualifying attempts have not been the strongest. It's been during once we get to race trim that his speed is truly shown. And once again, decent qualifying side for his first lap. Gonna be 5th fastest. Adam Thompson gonna find some sneaky speed in his first lap as he'll be up to 2nd place. But a lot of these drivers seems like it's the second lap, Zach, that we're really looking to find that pickup speed. And this is where we're watching for Brandon Federplace. Again, was 5th fastest on his first lap, hoping for a massive pickup here off the exit of turn number 4. Stay off the wall as cleanly as you can. And the 34 cross the line, 6th on the board currently, and will come up shy by 2/1000ths of a second to Jamie Horn, who holds on to the pole.
So close for Brandon Federplace there. We'll see what his teammate here, Brandon 6, can do. Second lap around for him. First one was, of course, a throwaway. Let's see what the lap will be here. A clean 1 and 2 there, right through the middle dashes of 1 and 2. Now down the back straightaway, see if he can hook it up here in 3 and 4 and not overcook it. Sometimes you look like a driver will overdrive it. They'll wash up above that asphalt grip there, and they'll actually get a pretty good run off that 4th group, but he decides to keep it in the 2nd as he comes to the line. We'll see what it's going to do here, Sam.
Coming across the line, and it is for pole for Brandon 6, our points leader entering tonight. and it's almost by 0.2 of a second. The 06, wicked pace. He looks so smooth in where he was running. That's a solid time for himself. Well, we've talked about how the newcomers, and 6 is one of them that has looked incredible this season. Here's another newcomer in the 35 debut race for Zach Millett, who's going to be seeing how this 35 machine can find some extra pace. Going to be the slowest off their first lap. Oh, we saw that same scenario for the 06 machine. Here we go, Zach for the newcomer.
We'll see what Zach Miller can do here. And so this will be a great qualifying either way for him, because it looks like majority of our field here, with the time already clicking away, about 45 seconds left, majority of our field are not going to be taking times here. So if Millett can get a decent pickup, we'll see as he comes to the line to do a 30.257. So yeah, that's gonna be a great pickup for Millett.
Millett looked like a tad of a wiggle off the exit turn 4, lost some speed there, but still good enough to get inside of the top 5. Not a bad qualifying attempt for your debut race here for the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series. But yeah, like you were saying, Zach, not a lot of drivers out there on course. There's only just one left, but I think he'll run out of time. That's going to be Jeremiah Stutzman in the 22, who usually is starting further on back. But it looks to be over 11 drivers opting out of qualifying, and one of them, surprisingly, gonna be Kevin Thompson, as well as Andrew St. Cyr. Twisted Axle top drivers not deciding to qualify. They'll both be starting inside of the top 25. But for the field, they're getting ready for tonight's race. But before that, we have a 5-minute warm-up period. We'll have the drivers get a little bit of extra time to get some extra practice, any adjustments that are needed before they get into their race. And it allows us to take a look at what the point standings are looking like, what the schedule's looking like. And Zach, with missing the last 2 weeks, the schedule completely different from where it's going to be at. We'll take a closer look at that later. But here's first the point standings, because these points might look crazy. They might look out of sorts. But again, we've been off for a whole month. The point standings are based off of the old NASCAR Winston Cup Series, where it was big points given out to everyone each week. Just a difference of 10 positions could be over 50 points. So with all these drivers that are in the top, I would say 15, still mathematically in the hunt for this championship.
Exactly right, Sam. Yeah, like you said, I mean, if you would look at this at the nowadays point standings, you'd be like, wow, Brandon 6 is gone. But no, that 33 points from Brandon Bowie, his teammate there right behind him, and Justin McMahon, 38 points, who I'd say was probably the hottest driver leaving, our last little segment before we had these off weeks. This is going to be very, very crucial here these next few weeks, how these drivers mount their charge, because a lot of people still have plenty of chance to get right up in the mix.
They certainly do. And also a thing about the point standings, it is a complete together on who can have the most points at the end of the season. There's no playoffs, there's no chase. It's a whole season of collecting those points. That's going to be important as we take a look at what the schedule is going to look like, because Zach, it's changed a lot looking at this field, and the big thing here is looking at how the dates are different. We've got the next 2 weeks, which is going to be New Hampshire and Michigan. Then we're going to take a week off before we come back for a 3-race spree of Richmond, Kansas, and Charlotte. Then we'll take another week off as we have Thanksgiving. We'll be back for another 2 races at Talladega, Las Vegas, before we get to the holidays, Christmas, as well as New Year's. Gonna give us a 3-week break before we come back for the final 2 races at Phoenix and Homestead.
Very interesting situation. And, personally, with the way it is with the open setup, this is probably best case scenario for a lot of these teams. So they don't have to crunch as much work in, to get all these weeks in. These little bit of off weeks, you got to use those as a valuable time to build, R&D, develop what you need to figure out for your setups, because this closing out this season, like we've seen already, how close the points are, it's going to be critical to be good each and every one of those weeks. Even after coming back off their, a few weeks off, you're going to have to be right on cue.
I'm also curious on later in the season, because we have that extra time again into January. That's close to when iRacing is going to have their massive updates for the new year. That could really change things up for those final 2 races. But as we're in our final 2 minutes of the warm-up, this is our time to give them thank you and shout outs to the amazing sponsors that help out the Doghouse Racing League and the Cup Series just on its own. First and foremost, the title sponsor, Shoney's. Shoney's is today's all-American kitchen, open daily for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Guests can count on quality, delicious food along with warm, friendly service. Stop by one of the West Virginia locations and try out their freshly prepared legendary breakfast bar, and don't forget to take home a whole strawberry pie. Shoney's, delicious food and friendly service since 1947. As well, I want to say thank you to True Patriot Apparel and Gifts. True Patriot Apparel and Gifts is a small business that believes in God, standing for our flag, and abiding by the U.S. Constitution. We also advocate for freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and the right to bear arms. If you want to check out all the variety of different themes from Bigfoot, patriotic, to pets, and more, check out the great variety of different apparel and gifts at www.truepatriotshopusa.com. And when you're purchasing, remember to use the promo code Doghouse10 at purchase to get 10% off. Also, if you're looking to get into sim racing and you want to find yourself with the best looking schemes out there, go ahead over to SSR Designs. They're on Facebook, where you can contact them today. If you've got a project in mind, or you're just wanting to throw out ideas that they can help collaborate with, make yourself a bold graphic, go head over to SSR Designs and they will help you out. Again, go contact on Facebook. Also, want to say thank you to Butt Kicker. Feel what you've been missing, as great way to help yourself feel the action instead of just hear the action with your racing rig, and another attachment you'd love to add on. And finally, I want to say thank you to Nap Daddy Racing Designs, another great design group where you can follow them on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube. Just look up Nap Daddy Racing Designs, or go to their website at www.napdaddyracing.com. Thank you so much to all the amazing sponsors. And Zach, warm-up's done. It's about to be time for gridding. New Hampshire, going to be an interesting one overall, but what do you think is going to be the important factor for tonight's race before we take a look at our starting grid?
Well, I'll tell you something. The one thing I think me and you even talked about it before this broadcast started is how are these drivers going to handle the exits of these corners? I think that's going to be super fun to watch. The drivers that have the setups dialed in, you're going to see the rear ends planted, or you're going to see a few others probably struggling for that grip as they come up off these corners trying to put the power down these long straightaways.
Well, breaking the streak after coming back from our break, Brandon 6 in the 06 going to take that pole award for himself. On the outside in the 98 machine, we're going to see ourselves with Jamie Horn in the 98. Third is Brandon Fetterplace. Debut race for another rookie, Zach Miltlet, going to be the driver to watch out for. As in fifth, we're going to find ourselves with Christopher Simon. Eric Warman, who's had a surprisingly great start to the season, he'll start sixth with Christopher Leftwich. 8 machine looks fast. We'll see how the 8 is going to perform here, starting in the top 10 and 7th. Adam Thompson also back out on course for the 71 in 8th place. Eric Anderson going to start in 9th, and finishing on our top 10, it's the 23 of Jonathan Smith.
Starting in 11th, it's going to be the 45 of Gary Kloon. Justin McMahon going to start alongside him in 12th. 13th is going to go to the 92 of Cameron King with 14th position, going to the 7 of Gary Armio. 15th position in qualifying is going to be Stephen Bonomo with Tyler Millette in 16th. 17th is going to go to Mike Leftwich alongside him in 18th. It's going to be the 58 of Nicholas Schnell. 19th is going to go to Andrew St. Clair, and rounding out the top 20, it's Brandon Bowie.
In 21st, we've got last season's champion in the 6th machine of Kevin Thompson. Jeremiah Stutzman will, in the 22, will start 22nd. Brian Dixon, one of the faster drivers, looking at pace from practice. The 03 will start in 23rd. Nicholas Atwood joining late in the practice, but he'll start in 24th. Missing out on qualifying. A majority of these drivers back here, you see no time. That means they didn't get any qualifying in. 25th is Joe McKnight with Andy Cork in 26th. Going to be seeing Mark Dumont in the 14th, starting 27th, with Richard Leclerc in 28th, and Daniel Wilkerson finishing out our 29 drivers registered for tonight. As they're getting ready to roll off from the grid, it's about to be starting time here this evening. Tonight's race is going to be 135 laps. No stage break, no fast repairs, but we do have 3 extra sets of tires in pit road, 70% fuel load in Zach. We look at the past. We've raced here 3 times in the past. but every race has been anywhere from 6 to 7 cautions. Doesn't matter on the length of the race. That seems to be the number that we see. How do you think that might be changing up these drivers' mentalities? We're about to get started.
You know, it really puts the thought of strategy in your mind. I think when you have that many yellows, you know it can really shake things up. 4 sets of tires here tonight allowed. So you got 3 in pit road, 1 on the car. You know, the decision for strategy is what's going to be, I think, a big call for a lot of these drivers, knowing that possibly 6 to 7 yellows could be thrown tonight.
The only past driver that has won this race is Kevin Thompson. He starts all the way back in 21st position. Could he be a repeat winner here at New Hampshire, or will we see someone brand new? It's time to see as your Group 6 135 is underway, and it's the inside row. The teammates in line, and the teammates are gone down into turn number 1.
Ready to start from that bottom lane, like you said, from those 2 teammates, and Brandon 6 going to immediately take control of it, but immediately as Jamie Horner cross back over underneath Brandon Fetterplace, and he takes over second down the back straightaway as the battle is going on for 7th position.
Going back and forth on what big moves you can see, and we're already seeing difference of how you want to drive this race compared to what we were seeing for Monday night. These drivers middle of the track on these first lap, but it looks like a lot more of a diamond factor of entering these corners. Drivers are aggressive on entry, and they're trying to get the power off the exit as quickly as they can. It's that center point of the track, though, this apex, that really is changing up where these drivers can make some big moves. Currently, 6 is gone. The rest of the field still trying to find some footing, and there's the 24 of Justin McMahon, one of the hottest drivers before the break. The 24 on his march to go forward.
He is definitely one of the hottest drivers on this circuit right now. This 24 has, I mean, fully rejuvenated himself this season. Has got, I think, a lot of confidence back, and we'll see if McMahon can continue his charge that he had before we had this break here. And tell you what, right now everybody doing a great job, and it does seem like you said, Sam, not as much, you know, of the drivers running down low. It seems like a lot of people opening up the corner, trying to get those really straight exits and make those straightaways longer.
Trying to get as much speed as possible in the straightaways to set up the next corner if possible, as Brandon 6 is just saying, I'll set hot lap after hot lap as he continues on with these burners. 3 laps completed as we're on lap 4, and there's a big move from Mike Leftwich trying to make a slicing move on Steven Bonomo in the 9 machine, and seeing the rest of the field, they're all trying to find their footing as well. This is a weird race. A month break when you thought it was just going to be a 1 week off moment. I mean, Zach, that really can change these drivers' mentalities, and a lot of rust I think these drivers are trying to resettle with.
Oh, for sure. Definitely got to get that rust knocked off. And I think a lot of just, you know, kind of probably built up nerves of waiting and anticipating this race, thinking about how many times it's played out through your mind of, man, what am I going to do when we get to New Hampshire? And they've, you know, clearly a lot of people have been probably fine-tuning their setups, getting them as great as they possibly could. So this is going to be a heck of an interesting race with how these drivers are going to compete against each other. And right now we're trying to see a lot of our top contenders who started out back as a driver into that inside wall. I think it was Nicholas Schnell, and the yellow is going to fly.
It is trouble ahead of them. That's actually going to bring out the yellow. It's St. Cour and Bonomo that get into one another to bring out the yellow. Schnell had his issue coming out of turn number 4.
Oh, no. Like you said, yeah, that was ahead of Schnell there in the 58. And like you said, it was kind of farther down the straightaway where the 9 and the 12 got into each other. And from there, it was chaos because this front straightaway, it fills up very quickly when you have smoke and wrecking cars ahead of you.
It looked to be contact at the exit turn 4 of Steve Bonomo snapping loose in front of this 58. You're going to see it here. Snaps into the 12, spins him around. That brings up the yellow. Schnell on his point finds himself just snapping to the inside wall.
Seems like these cars already, I talked about how we felt like that was going to be an important point, is watching how these cars exit off the corner, and already seeing some traction loss there. Is it can catch you off so fast with these 18-inch rims or tires that we run here. The sidewalls are so thin that the reaction of when the car, you feel it starting to spin those tires, it's almost too late, and that's kind of happened to the 9 of Bonomo.
As Steve Bonomo, and you know, that snapping, just randomness, it kind of feels like it happens. I feel like that's just the nature of this next-gen car. It just, there is no predictability. You try your best to find a predictable spot, but It feels so random when the car's just going to snap on you or it's going to be snug off the exit of a corner.
It is by far, in my opinion, the hardest car to fight when it starts to, step out on you. When it comes to all the stock cars, no side force that is working with you. The cars are straight on both sides. Both sides of the cars are identical. There's nothing really helping you from that car wanting to come around. So it is a very, very tough car. Everything happens so quickly with how stiffly sprung they are and how much downforce they're trying to make with the underfloor of the car. So it makes everything just happen that much faster, in my opinion. These cars actually compared to an Indy car, I think a little more than what you would say a Xfinity car, where it starts to step out. You get that side force on the right side of the cars. These have none. And that's when you see those moments. It's just almost uncatchable with this race car, and tough break for Bonomo and the 12 Anderson core who got caught up in that.
Yeah, both drivers able to get repairs done and will stay on the lead lap. I know that's a great sign for BMAC out there in chat. One driver, though, that's got to be frustrated. That's going to be Schnell, who actually was given required damage, has to lose at least one lap. We'll see if the 58 is able to get back out on track or not. A few drivers that register not able to take the green, one of those being Joe McKnight, missing out on the start of this race. Hate to see that for the 51. We hope to see McKnight back out on course next week. Again, the schedule is going to be a little bit different. Next week, we do head to Michigan, but then in 2 weeks, we will have the 31st Halloween off for the field, so you can go celebrate in any way that you enjoy Halloween, if that's dressing up, going to parties, or just giving out candy for some. And I know for some of these drivers, going to be a lot of testing to get ready. Well, based off of the information that we saw on track and what race control deemed as an issue, Stephen Elmo taking the at fault, so an end of the line penalty for the 9 machine for this restart. Rest of the field stacked up and ready to go. But I mean, Zach, only one consistent was up front of seeing Brandon Six. He looked so quick at the start of this race, was putting fast lap after fast lap, didn't look out of control at all based off what I was seeing there before the caution flag came out. Curious on what the 06 is going to be feeling, though, if we get a caution in the next 10 to 15 laps.
It's very, very true. Yeah, these cars change so much, and they also do change when we have these cooldown periods like this. So it's gonna be interesting to see how the balance is affected by this, quick yellow here. If we get another one, will we see some drivers possibly elect to take tires? I mean, I think it's a little early for that with how many sets they have, but we could see definitely some pit strategy play out here tonight once we get a little farther in.
I think the timing also going to be important. Make sure you're pitting with majority of the field if you're up front, so you don't lose that track position. But track position, that hasn't changed at all. Our top 3 stay the time. So top 3, 6, Horn, Fetter Place, and Millet going to be our top 4 as we are green once again. And it's the teammates in line, but a much better start for 6 as Fetter Place and Horn will be side by side through 1 and 2.
And last time it was Fetter Place who made the move stick and, had it done. And then Jamie Horn out of nowhere crosses over him, gets the better run out of 2 and had the position. But it was this time Brandon Fetter Place on the bottom able to take the move over and move up to 2nd. So great job by him. But now it's the 27 of Christopher Simon back here running in the 9th position. Looks like he just lost a spot to the 24 Justin McMahon, who continued his charge forward.
Justin McMahon, one of the biggest movers so far, up 4 positions. But we look back further and looking at this chaos currently on screen, you have Cameron King as well as seeing the likes of Gary Kloon, the 43 of Eric Anderson, who's lost the most positions so far. And seeing also 3 wide, Brandon Bowie, Kevin Thompson, just willing to go 3 wide, trying to get by other drivers. But it's seeing the likes of seeing Anderson, King, they're getting close off the exit of the corners. A lot of drivers testing their fates on netcode, holding steady for them.
Cool. It's been a tough fate for a lot of drivers lately here on iRacing, getting caught out with netcode. And it's been unfortunate to see, but definitely some great 3-wide action. It was Kloon that was in the middle in the 45, and he was able to work his way out of that. But Bowie was the one that actually went out and threw out that scene. He drives up to 16th. Thompson in the 6th machine, he falls back to 19th, trying to run that lower line. So looks like tonight maybe the higher groove is where you're going to want to be to make passes. But again, in the background, the 6, Kevin Thompson, looking to the inside of the 03 of Brandon Dixon is, the 60 of Mike Leftwich loose down into the 6, but he saves it. Great job by Mike Leftwich in the 60 to hold that together.
Great save. That is a very easy place to overcorrect and snap your vehicle directly up into the outside wall and collect another driver. Mike Leftwich, though, just lets it naturally graze back up, using a little bit of brake, and it worked perfectly. But now he's got to settle in. Those tires are warm. They're not happy. We'll see for the next couple of laps on what's going on with the 60 machine. One driver, though, just lost plenty of lap positions. It's going to be the 7 of Gary Armio, was just inside, close to our top 10. The 7 now in trouble of losing 16th to Kevin Thompson.
Very interesting. Yeah, he is dropping down the order very, very quickly. So I think he actually, going back and looking at it, he actually got loose off of 4 the last time around. So lost a bunch of spots just from a slight checkup, and it shows you when everybody's this close together, you have to live for a moment and, catch everything. It really allows your competition to make passes. But look at this Armio Thompson way up the groove, and that's just showing you again, this next gen car, it likes being up the racetrack.
It does. It just likes having a lot more space to get straight and carry the momentum. And Kevin Thompson almost able to utilize it to get a slingshot move by Gary Armio. Getting by that of Gary Clune in the 45. Armio trying his best to make the stand, as he's getting pressured currently by the 03 of Brian Dixon, and this is all outside of our top 15. It's kind of crazy, Zach, looking at this grouping. Brandon Bowie finally able to take off just 2 laps ago to gain a lot of positions. Kevin Thompson's finally finding his footing to push forward. Some of these drivers we're so used to seeing up front or work their way to get up front. It's taking a little bit longer than what we've seen in the past to get by these drivers.
It definitely is. Yeah, it's been tougher for the likes of like Kevin Thompson getting through. It's just a very tough track to pass too. So you pick the wrong lane, you just get stuck on the bottom, you get rolled through. And you saw what Brandon Bowie did. He kind of just picked the right lanes, and now he's up to 9th. So it's just one of those things. Sometimes you can get stuck in those positions, and everybody with the speed that a lot of people are showing, it's very close and competitive field here tonight so far.
And once again, thank you so much to everyone that's joining with us. I know we missed you over this full month break, and as families are still recovering from the hurricanes that hit Florida, that took out the power and internet for a lot of these drivers, forcing us to have an extra 2-week break these last 2 weeks. And we are back giving you the coverage and getting to see these drivers out on track, as New Hampshire, your Group 6 135 is currently underway. We've had 1 caution so far, and Brandon 6, who grabbed the pole, has stayed up front all race long so far. Looking at some of the drivers, though, further on back, this is the challenging, going on for 20th and 21st. Also seeing some other drivers that started all the way in the back, seeing Daniel Wilkerson in his True Patriot Apparel and Gifts machine trying to make his way forward, as seeing different drivers, different lanes. Currently looks like, Zach, the middle groove is everyone's favorite to run currently.
It definitely looks to be that way. Our leaders are running that, and it just seems like the drivers that are making the most passes and the ones making the most speed are either in this 2nd groove or in this 3rd groove that we're watching from Daniel Wilkerson. It just seems like anything lower than that is just a little too low. Anything higher than that is maybe a little too high up the racetrack. So that perfect zone is right there in the middle. Look at this, McMahon. He's trying to continue his march forward, but it looks like his march is starting to go a little bit backwards here now, as he's gotten passed by a few people, and he's dropping back here, possibly going to fall to 11th if Cameron King can get the pass lane. So maybe McMahon this time a little bit took the tires off from getting those early spots, or maybe looking for this run to go a little bit longer, or maybe come back around on the wrong side.
You got probably one of the hottest drivers entering into our break back in the middle of September, and the driver that had probably the worst luck, Cameron King. Whenever it seemed like he was having a good day, would get caught up in a mess in the final quarter of a race that just would end his night abruptly. 92, hoping that tonight could be that big change he's hoping for. Speaking about change, seeing the 6 machine trying to push his way forward. It's going to be Kevin Thompson trying to find a way to get by Tyler Millette, which I'm actually kind of shocked by this, of seeing Tyler Millette this far back. I remember watching a lot of the short tracks last season, Zach. It seemed like the 94 was always one of the drivers up front with a huge threat. Just seems like the setup not there today currently for Millette. Might need a couple more adjustments throughout the night before he's fully comfortable.
And that's the thing about open setup leagues like Doghouse. Sometimes it's just not your week. It could be a track that really fits your style, but it's just the car. You just never could find your footing that week. And that's one of the beauties of open setup is just it's really finding how to make the car work best for yourself as a driver. Some setups work good for drivers, while for another driver it just doesn't fit their style. So fun to watch and just see how some drivers can really excel at certain type of tracks, but in these open setups, sometimes your setup is just not optimal enough to be able to go out there and compete like you want to. And right now, Millette definitely going to be looking to get that car fixed up, as he's going to drop back to 13th here as Kevin Thompson continuing his march back, or march forward from 12th.
I'm curious if we can hop on board with the 6 machine. I know we were just in the cockpit of the 94, but I want to try to hop on board with Kevin Thompson, who's on the move. Again, another driver who's been charging forward, has been seeing Bowie make some good moves. Big thing, though, of note, you can see on that front, on the dash, are the gears. Seeing some drivers making some shifts, going from 4th to 3rd. Zach shifting seems to be a big factor here tonight, as almost everyone is making that quick shift.
No doubt, yeah. This place is a ton of shifting. Even in the truck series, you'll see shifting here. It's just one of those tracks that the gear ratios, the way they play out, it's just way more optimal to use the gearbox to slow you down and use that acceleration up off the corner and shifting prowess to get up forward. So great job, great look there from Kevin Thompson to see how that all works. And one of the interesting things is, I know these guys are definitely happy they're not running the fixed setup, because sometimes you would shift all the way from 3rd up to 5th. Here in the fixed setups, you can get a little bit more wiggle room when you have these open setups, and you can get that gear more finely tuned. These drivers seem like they're sticking in 4th and 3rd all the way around.
That seems to be their favorite spot. One driver, though, shockingly lost tons of position, has really been struggling since we went green. Great qualifying run from Eric Anderson in the 43. About 5 laps ago, though, had a self-spin, didn't bring out a yellow, but went from battling for 15th all the way down to 26. You hate to see that for himself. There's another driver, though, I kind of want to hop on board with, currently running back in 8th place. And he is making one of the more unique moves all around, as actually trouble for Cameron King, but Bowie, he's the first driver, Zach, I'm seeing the apron is being utilized, and it's on entry where he's using the apron.
Very, very interesting. This is a place where you can gain a ton of time actually on that apron running on entry. This time he's going to run up in the 3rd group, try to get a little air away from the 8. And that's probably mostly what he's trying to find, is just find some air to the nose of that race car. It's crazy to say it, but sometimes the line that's not most optimal, that you can get the air on the nose, will be more optimal just due to the more downforce you have compared to running behind the driver. But he's going to get close today, and they're actually going to make some contact. That's going to send Bowie around.
Bowie trying not to hit the water barrels and somehow comes to a stop before he makes contact. And I was just waiting, Zach, until you finished with your statement, because over the last 10 laps, it's felt like there was 1 to 2 drivers snapping loose off the exit of the corner. That go around just a little too antsy was the 54, making contact, maybe get on the brakes, and away Bowie went to bring out our 2nd caution of the day.
Yeah, right before that last moment too, Cameron King, he spun off of 2, was in the grass. So yeah, it was starting to pop off there a little bit, and I think a lot of drivers start to lose the heat on the rear tires. That's starting to see a lot of fall off and a lot of lap times slip away from some of the drivers farther back throughout the field. But they definitely, I think, were hurting for them Goodyear tires here as that run went farther on. But it'll be interesting to see now, 31 laps in, will we see pits, as we're going to get this replay.
You see, we were riding on board. Bowie made contact and snapped loose right off the exit, and luckily came to a halt before getting into those barrels. And if he had made contact there, that could have been a race-ending moment, especially with the angle he was flying in there. Luckily, no damage was collected. Just take an aerial view, there's a small tap. And I mean, Zach, that is such a heartbreaking moment, because the 54 looked like one of the fastest drivers out there on track.
Oh, no doubt. He was making big headway. I mean, he started all the way back in the 20s. So he was definitely on the march forward, like we see him most weeks from starting farther out back. But he's going to have to reline that back up and get going. And he made passes look pretty good. So we'll get to see, I think, if he can get that done again.
Oh, if you're wondering how often we see Brandon Bowie start in the back and work his way forward, well, he's got the third worst starting position because he doesn't qualify. Most of the field does qualify. Bowie this season has gone with the opportunity to just always start in the back and see if he can work his way forward. Usually it works with a 27.4 position, starting position, to a top 10. He's a ninth position average when it comes to a finishing spot. I mean, it is a crazy pickup as 54 takes, but we've seen it in plenty of other leagues. I mean, Zach, even yourself, starting in the back, working your way forward, it helps you take so many good lessons throughout a race that could help you at the end.
It really does. I tell people this all the time. That sometimes starting out back is not the worst situation. You get to learn, like you said, how to pass. You figure out where your car's good at, the situations that your car's not good at, and it just equates to, in my opinion, really just a lot of learning that you can do. There's no better practice than the race itself, where you get to really see what everybody's got. And yeah, man, Bowie's been really good at doing that all season, and has used that, I think, not to his advantage, but definitely used what he's learned to good avail.
I mean, Bowie Esports, one of the teams that's known for trying to go and make the Coca-Cola Esports, going through the Contender Series, and no surprise, you try to find ways you can learn, especially in an open setup league, as the field gets ready. One driver, though, deciding not to pit. That's going to be the 22 of Jeremiah Stutzman, which we've seen this before when we get an early caution and then a secondary one that everyone goes into pit road. Usually the 22 stays out, just get a lap of lead, and then either pulls it into pit road the next lap. This go around, gonna be our control vehicle. Looks like Stutzman will stay out. So Stutzman yet to pit on any tires. He will be on 34 lap old tires compared to everyone else that just got fresh rubber. This is that terrifying moment of different strategies that you have to hope that you can survive through. Otherwise, you can find yourself already getting wrecked here early on. So cross your fingers, hope for the best. Stutzman trying a risky move.
Definitely a risky move, so to say. And yeah, Stutzman, looking before that, yellow came out, was starting to fall off into the 31s and about a high 30. We could see the other drivers about a second faster almost. So this could get very, very interesting when this green flag gets ready to drop.
Well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Just got done with our second caution. Time for our third start of the race. Stutzman 6 going to be your front runners. Stutzman, your control vehicle, into the restart zone. The Group 6 135 is underway, and the 06, not the control vehicle, but we know can get in control very quickly as he dives down low. The fresh rubber just allows the Brandon 6 to have that slightly extra grip, but off the exit of the corner, it's Stutzman still fighting his way forward. They'll be drag racing into turn 3.
That outside is powerful. It is allowed Stutzman to fight for this time being, but I don't think it's going to be for long. Once the tires start to heat up, everybody starts to warm their tires up and get the grip going. You're going to start to see these drivers pass him. There's already 6 past now. Jamie Horn going to be looking to do it, but farther back goes a driver, I believe it was Adam Thompson in 71. Big moment for him coming off the floor. He's going to keep it gathered up, but they're almost 3-4 wide at some point.
As you see here, Chris Leftwich and a few others is now dropping all the way to go 3 wide on the inside. Going to be Justin McMahon. A few others trying to find their own openings as Stutzman will stay high and try to allow drivers to get by as quickly as they can. But those little slip-ups, trying to get the tires warmed up, but in the next about 7 to 10 laps, that's when we're expecting these tires to fall off once again, and the field will be in that worrisome position. Or will they be worried now, as got to see Warman and a few others really clog up there on the interior one.
It is definitely starting to get clogged up, as now Warman's going to be right behind Stutzman, who's running way up the track here. Is now Chris Leftwich going to dive up the inside here. He's going to look to take over the spot from the 27 of Christopher Simon, but the push from the 6 of Thompson, but he gets loose, loses the rear end, and Thompson hard into the outside wall. That is tough break for our past champion.
Last season's champion, the 6 of Thompson, into that outside wall, and also going to be seeing Chris Leftwich with a little bit of a slip up through 1 and 2. And that outside wall, with the angle we saw Thompson hit, you got to be worried about the toe length and just the damage that could continue to build up. Luckily, there's no required damage. But any damage that's close to the wheel, always a scary thing to watch out for. And if you're the 6 machine, your race isn't over. You can still deal with this contact. It's more of later on in the race, any extra contact at that same spot could be a race ender.
That's exactly right. It weakens that front right wheel well, and that's going to be somewhere that is very delicate. We've seen the past, just light hits, sometimes just a gentle hit can break that toe from those front tires. And oh no, Thompson getting loose again as he's going to go around and the caution's going to come out.
Right, almost exactly where we saw Bowie spin, but it was the 6 all on his lonesome going around, and the rest of the field able to get around cleanly. And I mean, that gives you the caution that Thompson needed to get repairs done, but all the track position lost in a blink of an eye.
And this is going to happen over the transition. This track is somewhat progressively banked, you know, like you brought up, saying there's 2 degrees right at the bottom of the racetrack there on the very bottom side. Then it goes all the way up to 7 degrees as you go farther out towards the wall. Now, each one of these tracks, you can see the seams there. That is where the transition, so to say, of the banking change happens, between those seams of where they paved that asphalt. And right there, the 6 got his right rear on it, and it just seemed like it was on almost like he had wet tire. You know, it was like a wet line he hit, because he immediately lost the rear end as soon as he hit that transition.
Well, speaking of transition, I think that could be a perfect one for us. We've had a few cautions come up so far. It's been great racing action here tonight. Give me the call for the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. But I think we might take our first commercial break of the evening as you are watching the Group 6 135 at New Hampshire. It has been a pleasure to give you the call here tonight. We'll be back with more racing coverage after this here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting on your Thursday night. We're giving you the coverage of the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series, as tonight's race is race number 6 of the season of 14 races, and it's a collective as the whole season comes to conclusion. Whoever's got the most points wins the championship. And the one driver of everyone's got on their mind is Brandon 6 in the 06, currently leading the way. And he has been one of the fastest drivers all night long. As we've just got done with our third caution of the day. Get ready for some more racing action here tonight. It seems like we're starting to see a little bit of a trend of how this race could be continuing forward. We'll see how much it changes up, though, as we wait to go back to green flag action for the Group 6 135 at New Hampshire. Pace car pulls into pit road. We're into the restart zone in green for Brandon 6, Brandon Fetterplace, and Jamie Horn down into turn number 1.
Great start once again from the bottom line as Fetterplace is able to take over that spot again from Jamie Horn. So it just seems like for the time being, Horn not able to get that spot back from Fetterplace, but it seems like as the run goes, that's where his speed starts to show up over Fetterplace. But the rest of the field stacking up. It looks like Chris Leftwich, the first one attacking on the bottom side farther back.
Where can you find that little bit of extra speed and maybe a spot to attack and go forward? Starting to see a chance to battle for third position. Jamie Horn and Millet going to be trying their best, but also trouble in the middle of the group for the 24 and the 8 machine. McMahon trying to set up a pass to get by Chris Leftwich. Leftwich looked like he just could not get in the throttle. There was contact made in the center of 1 and 2. Luckily, no one got spun out. But the 8 machine, Zach, I don't know what happened on the last adjustments, but the 8 and the 24 are not racing nice as McMahon holds on. But behind them, it's going to be Dixon spinning around.
Oh, man, Dixon is around, but I think we're going to stay green here as he's got it back going. And what a wild start there on that restart, as everybody seems to be getting wild. As, yeah, the 24 and the 8 made contact there. As it just seemed like their two lines came together on the exit. And it really hurt the 24 McMahon more.
McMahon, big slide, holds on, and everyone else holds steady. I was talking about right before we went green, we're starting to notice some trends. I mean, Zach, it seems like we've got 6 laps of potential green flag racing before someone's rear end either goes away or someone makes contact with another driver. This is going to be odd moving forward of who's got the real aggression to move up without completely torching their tires where they will spin out.
That's exactly right. It's farther back, Anderson going for the move on the inside of Gary Armio. Armio got loose there on the entry, but it's going to be the 12 who's going to put the power down. He's going to make the move, get past him, now be alongside the 19 Nicholas Atwood and the 12 of Anderson Core breaking to the top 13 for the first time tonight.
Remember, Anderson Core caught up in the first wreck of the race between himself and the 9 of Steve Bonomo, as they were racing hard off the exit turn 4 and got into one another, and finally get to see the 12 show some great speed. And we know the twisted axle drivers always were notoriously quick, especially last season. This season, though, they seem to be the 3rd best team out there on track. It's Bowie Esports, obviously, that have been up front, one of the fastest teams. But Twisted Axle, a little bit of a fall off from where they were last season with the championship hunt between St. Core and Thompson as caution flag flies, smoke behind, and trouble. I think that was, I believe, Nicholas Atwood, another Twisted Axle driver, having issues that bring out this yellow.
That it was contact between him and the 7 of Gary Armio there down in the middle of 1 and 2, and we're going to get to see it right here. As the 7 just up the racetrack a little too much, is going to catch the left rear of the 19, and Nicholas Atwood's going to spin him around, but he quickly got it back straight, and you know, that could have been almost a non-yellow if he got it back straight, or it wouldn't have got as sideways from his contact.
And so here's another look at it. The camera kind of focuses up, seeing that corner. Small tap, taps in the front, and going it straight as a 43 of Anderson was cruising into the picture. Luckily, no more extra contact. I would say that's a perfect example of Twisted Axle season. Caught up in trouble, but they're able to rebound slightly, even involved with incidences.
That's for sure. And I tell you what, man, that was a great save. Great save from Nicholas Atwood, and seen a few of those tonight from a few drivers. So we'll see who elects to come down. I think a few people will take that chances. It looks like maybe Brandon Bowie the first to do that with Daniel Wilkerson, Nicholas Atwood, and it looks like also Nicholas Schnell along with the 03 of Brian Dixon. So a few takers on pit road here just to use this quick yellow to get their car worked on.
Few takers, a couple of those drivers have been involved with incidences that didn't bring out yellows, so chance to top off on fuel, maybe get damage repair. Fuel might take tires, which I think that would be the interesting part of how we could change up this race, because the rest of the field, we've had a couple of cautions while the last time that they came into pit road, but a 10 lap, 12 lap difference on green flag tires compared to fresh ones. It really changes this race up. But again, we'll see how those drivers want to change things overall as the field is single filed out. Brandon 6 up front. Debut runner, though, for the 35, a Millet. And it's exciting when we get to see the debut racers. I know probably the biggest shock of debut racers was Brandon Fetterplace at the middle to end of last season and how incredible he looked. It's always exciting to see new drivers that are trying to steal the show if possible, but it's hard when you have 6 who's been so dominant this season.
Brandon 6 has been amazing. Yeah, he has been really the tried and true of consistency, qualifying consistency and race pace consistency. Just always right up in the mix, always right there, putting on a heavy charge. So Brandon 6 is definitely going to be tough to beat, of course, but we've seen the points are still close. A lot of people have advantage, but like you said, Zach Millet, great job for him on a debut, just almost like Brandon Fairplace, like you were saying. So this is definitely good signs for the 35, and if he can come home with even a top 5, I think that's just a bright spot for him heading into these next few weeks.
Certainly would be. And watching Brandon 6's season so far, he's missed one race, but all the races that he shows up with, he is the favorite almost every time. And with the way that we've been seeing the dominance so far, again, the other close driver was Brandon Bowie, second in points entering tonight's race. Bowie currently runs in 21st position currently. Justin McMahon came in 3rd in points. He currently is having his woes at times, but is 7th currently. And the other drivers that look like they maybe could have pressured this 06, Shane Parrish wasn't here the last couple of races, and that's been hurting his chances to fight for this championship. And I think already we could say Brandon 6, if he's going to lose this championship, could come down to just a complete failure of not showing up or getting caught up in someone else's issues.
That's for sure. I mean, he's had the speed. The speed has been there for sure for him to go and, get himself a championship. But in racing, nothing is guaranteed, so we'll have to see if he can do it. Of course, again, it's close in points, but he's been definitely the driver to beat.
As pace car pulls into pit road, that means it is time to get back to green flag action for the Group 6 135 here at New Hampshire. And great launch for 6. Fetterplace and Millet going to be staying in line as Fetterplace doesn't go for the pass. He'll stay where he's at. It's everyone from about 5th on back going to be squeezed up side by side. And currently it's Eric Warman and Christopher Leftwich on the attack mode in the 8 machine. Looked like all that he needed was to cool off those tires, and the 8's back in the picture, fighting up front.
That he is. He's diving into the corner, almost looking to the outside of the 98 of Horn, but Horn able to drive up off the corner. He clears Warman, and now the 8 will have a run on the 31 of Eric Warman. They're going to get side by side here and fight for this top 5 spot.
Eric Warman, probably one of the most improved drivers. As a big wiggle there from Horn. He'll drift up into the 8 machine, give Warman a chance on the inside. But Eric Warman, end of last season, was probably one of the more improved drivers. It was fantastic to watch. He's carried that improvement into this season as he's tied with the most top 10s, with 4. And that 31 is going to try to continue his way forward as seeing the great battle for 8th place. It's going to be Christopher Simon as well as, trouble. It's Kevin Thompson further on back. And he gets creamed. Oh no, I don't know who hit him, but hard contact for the 6 machine.
Hard contact for the 60 of Mike Leftwich into that 6. And this is just a tough spot here. Kevin Thompson this night is going to go from bad to worse, and it's pretty much identical. I mean, it is almost a little bit later in the corner, but identical wreck to what we've seen before. And this is very tough for Mike Leftwich too, because the 6 is going to spin, and you're going to see here he's going to gas it up and come back down across the racetrack. Really nowhere for Leftwich to go because he felt like maybe he's going to stay in that spot, and he goes low. Leftwich is already there, and Mike Leftwich is just trying to miss that wreck. The 6 moving under that wrecking incident.
Yeah, and as you hop on board and get a hood view of Mike Leftwich, and what makes this wreck even harder is not even the fact that he rolled down. I mean, this is already hard enough when you see a driver sliding in this form, is because they could move down even if they're holding the brakes, or they could continue moving up. It's a hard wreck to predict, especially with smoke on. Some drivers have smoke on the fullest form, so it's very tough to see when a driver is sliding, but You'll see the tires here for the 6 machine. Locks it down here and then speeds it up, and that's Mike Leftwich almost was able to get clear.
Yeah, almost able to get clear of that. And, you know, Thompson there probably thinking, man, if I can just get down the racetrack, I'll get out of the way of everybody. So that's why he gasses it up there. But that's actually the fatal mistake, in my opinion. That kind of puts him in position there to get hit by Leftwich. So unfortunate. That's just how racing is. Sometimes it plays out where it does not favor you. And Thompson going to be coming out here tonight saying New Hampshire was not the greatest of one for him, as he's going to be getting that required repair done. Same for Michael Leftwich, who front end pretty destroyed.
Kevin Thompson entered tonight 10th in points, just only one top 5 and one top 10 this season over his 5 starts, and add number 6, and he will not add to the top 10s or top 5 columns. Required damage both for Mike Leftwich and Kevin Thompson still getting repaired at this time, as job going to be seen up front still Brandon 6, Millet, Fetter Place, Horn, Warman. I mean, that is incredible to see. It's everyone I would say that's outside of our top 5 that everything just seems so different to watch of who could be popping in or out. Looking at drivers and where they started out of the top 10, Justin McMahon has moved up to 7th place, starting almost outside of our top 20. Andrew St. Cyr, he's currently 10th. And then other drivers, Tyler Millette, who we've noted on, kind of shocked on how he's performing here tonight. Currently only 12th is the 94, but he's up 4 positions and part of the class of drivers that are some of our biggest movers so far.
It's definitely been a wild race to see who has been moving up and who has been climbing down. So it's been tough. This track is always like this, though. It really always gets the best of most drivers just because it's so flat. I mean, got all this horsepower, and it's a giant racetrack. You know, most of these flatter tracks like this are under a half mile usually when they're this flat. This place is a giant racetrack of a mile, so you got tons of speed while you carry down here and very long radius of corners, so it just makes for a very tough scene.
As the field gets ready for us to get back to green flag racing, as we're inching closer and closer to halfway. That's right, we're not done just yet. Update on some of those drivers further on back. Mike Leftwich has been able to leave pit road. Still, Kevin Thompson required damage for the 6. But Zach, I mean, this is just the first half of this race. Already, I think we're noticing on the fact that tires, they're difficult to figure out. This track still, even with trying to make it open setup league, this track is tough with any setup that you use.
I think any setup you use, you could have one that's very snug and very tight, but at the same time, it just takes one moment for these things to break away in this next gen race car. So it is one of those things where I think any time you come here, you're going to be fighting for a rear grip coming up off the corners and through the center of the corners. So definitely a place that's always tough on the driver's set.
I know, disappointing night for the 6 machine of Kevin Thompson. He officially calls in an evening here on lap 61. Having to go into pit road are a few drivers, but up front, a little bit of a stalled out, and it's going to be a huge chain reaction throughout the field. Delayed start for 6, Fetter Place and crew on the inside, and it hurt everyone that was on the outside groove.
Man, it was like really the second and third lanes decided when they went. Is I think, you know, Fetter Place hit the 6, Brandon 6, who we got going. The 98 hits the 35, and it really stacked things up, but everybody trying to figure it out now as they come off of turn number 4.
Out of 4 and still side by side for most of drivers in the middle of this pack. It's a battle for 6th place that's still raging aggressively, and we'll give it another round between Justin McMahon and Chris Leftwich as they'll be side by side. Last time these two drivers in the 24 and the 8 machine were side by side, they made contact into one another. It was McMahon that lost the most momentum, but now going to be trying to go on the aggressive move if possible. And as well, Simon and going to be Adam Thompson side by side. The 27 not getting as good of a run that he was hoping for, had to back off of the X4.
Thompson with a great move. He's going to dive up the inside there, lock up the left front. And wow, that was so close between him and McMahon. McMahon had to really have some evasive maneuvers to go high there. It's like the 24 will hold on, but as I say that, he gets loose off the exit, keeps the 71 beside him as Thompson is trying to go back up to where he was at one point up here almost in the top 5.
St. Tyler Millette as well is going to be the 12 machine, 45, all trying to find footing to go forward as over the radio drivers were communicating over that incident between that driver, Adam Thompson, who immediately went over the radio and said sorry to McMahon. The field is all getting spread out up front, the middle of the pack, as you've seen on screen, side by side, all around. But there's one driver that's on the move, and that is Brandon Bowie. Had to be all the way in the back. He's been trying to find green flag laps to finally tackle and take these positions away. Looks like the 54. We hop on board the hood screen for Bowie. Last time we were here, we saw trouble, but let's give it another try as the 54 goes down into turn number 1 and just showing the more aggressive speed he's able to carry through the corners.
He definitely is able to get into that corner very aggressively there as those two in front of him side by side weren't able to do that. Now Bowie going to back out here a little bit, let them drive it in, but he's going to carry this center speed here and try to build up and run off the exits. The 45 a little bit, not able to get back to the gas. The 94 a little tight. Now the 54 going to be to the inside. Does he look 3 wide here in the 1? No, going to wait for it. Nice patient move from the 54.
But how patient can you stay if you're Brandon Bowie as we ride on board with him still? Is because we can already see just visibly how much quicker he is off the exit of the corner, how much more he trusts getting on the throttle compared to his competitors around. And I mean, Zach, this is probably the hardest part when you watch a driver that has so much speed trying to work his way through traffic, is finding the right times to try to get around your competitors. You know that in certain parts of the track, you're so much faster than that.
It is very tough, and he just tried to get a great run there and spun the tires up and lost a bunch of time. So, you know, you're quicker than someone ahead of you, but passing them is a different scenario. So drivers just going to have to figure that out. Bowie is one of them. It's farther back here down the 9 of Stephen Bonomo looking up inside of Eric Anderson. This is the battle for top 15. A little bit of contact between those two as now the 92 of Cameron King trying to make his way back forward after his spin earlier. As the 7 of Armio is in the inside wall.
Gary Armio just continues to struggle for himself, and low, slow, lets the majority of the field go on by, and with the radio apologies were given out by Stephen Bonomo as he's having his own troubles that have been carrying on throughout the night, as it looks like some drivers having some connection issues. One driver we haven't really talked about here this evening, Andy Cork, because he's getting to see the blinking show of Bonomo ahead of him.
Bonomo, a little bit of connection issue there as Cork now going to be slowly coming up to the picture as they're side by side with the 9 and 19 ahead. But what Andy Cork looked to do is you can see way up out the groove here. So a lot of drivers have been finding speed tonight, though. This Cork not able to get the run he needs necessary to get up alongside the 9, but just going to have to wait for the time being.
Continue to wait and see as this race continues on. We're officially into the second half of this race, and your biggest mover here this evening is Andrew St. Cours in the 12 machine, currently making another pass in 9th position by Christopher Simon, as they're all trying to find a way to catch up and run down Brandon 6, who leads this race. And looking at the 12, I mean, Zach, he was the first driver caught up in the first caution of the day on lap 7 with the spin between himself and Steve Bonomo. Still fighting, still putting in the effort, and right now being rewarded with all of that mental fortitude, going for another attempt to get by Justin McMahon.
Just been a slow, methodical regain for this 12. And that's what we see a lot from Andrew St. Cours. He doesn't really get flustered. You know, a lot of things can happen to him, and he's able to find and gather up everything he needs to get himself back in the mix. And he's done a great job in battling one of the hottest drivers in the series right now. He's going to look to clear him down here in the middle of 3 and 4. But McMahon doing everything in his power to get the run up off the corner. The 12, though, going to slam the door shut. St. Cours up to 8th.
Up to 8th place, and as that battle was going on, I also was keeping an eye on our leader, Brandon 6. He got in a little bit of trouble with Jonathan Smith in the 23. Jonathan Smith trying to stay on the lead lap and was fighting for multiple laps to try to stay in front of the 06. Ultimately wasn't able to do so, but that's helping second place, now new second place runner of Millet in the 35, who's been able to get by Brandon Fetter place, and currently 1.6 seconds behind, slowly chipping away, and it helps when a lap car was putting the pressure on our leader.
That's for sure. Millet, I mean, what a debut for this guy. This has been excellent to see from him. Eric Warman also having a great run back there in 4th. Leftwich in 6th. some of these drivers having some of the best runs of the season right now. And this is definitely a great debut if you're a driver, especially against the strength of field we have here. Definitely a lot of strong drivers. For him to be running second, in a tough racetrack like this, I think only bodes well for the future for the 35.
Seeing new drivers filtering in, it's always a joy, especially with the league that a lot of drivers try to get into. There's always a waiting list of drivers that wait for an opportunity to prove that they are worthy of racing in the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series. As Thursday night's a blast for us to call. We're excited to be back after a month break from an official week off in the last 2 weeks with hurricanes that have been happening against the United States. We're happy that these drivers were able to stay safe and be able to weather the storm. And here tonight, seeing some drivers trying to just make it through this evening, knocking some rust off after being off for a month. It can be difficult to find that same just confidence level. And one of those that are struggling, the 7 of Gary Armio, once again, another slide and losing major time, falling all the way now down to 23rd position.
Oh, and I think that left front right there is broken on that car. If you look at it, it just looks like it's pointing to the left down the straightaway. I think he's going to have to bring that to pit road. Yeah, that not looking the greatest. So I'm not surprised that car's wanting to turn left on him continuously. So tough break for Gary Armio as he brings it to pit road. Also seeing another driver with the big slide, Adam Thompson, back in 7th. He had a giant slide that shoved him back in front of Andrew St. Clair. So a lot of these drivers starting to fight the rear ends now, and it's not only on exit. I'm seeing a few of them get into the corner and lose the rear ends.
And one of the battles that I think we got to keep our eye out on is going to be for 12th place. It's Gary Clune and Cameron King, 2 drivers I've been watching and struggle recently. That 12th place position battle. And in front of them, they're also watching other great battles as Simon has just gotten passed by Bowie, and Bowie trying to set up to get by Justin McMahon. 54 is on the charge, but Cameron King trying to attempt to set up a pass, just not close enough to go for it, as other drivers continue to fight. And you see that battling and passing, and Bowie just trying to get by each driver ahead of him.
That is, it's been a tough situation for a few of these guys. I mean, the likes of the driver, we were just on board with Cameron King. He's really been making his way back up after a spin. You got Christopher Simon, who's kind of stuck around that fringe top 10, top 7 area all night long. He's watching right now McMahon ahead of him just get passed by the likes of Brandon Bowie. So the racing has been good. A lot of drivers have kept their cool right around these spots, where we are starting to see a few new players work their way forward with Andrew St. Clair and Bowie up to 8th and 9th.
Separate pods kind of building up throughout the field. Up front, it's our top 3 are pretty spaced out from their competitors. And then you've got 4th all the way back to 6th that are a close little pod, and then from 7th all the way down to about 14th are decently close, as Gary Armio getting repairs done, back on track, but extremely slow. At this point, it's just drive to get points for themselves. But Eric Warman, 5th place currently. Got to be hoping that this race, gets some more assistance, because Bowie is going to be trying to catch up to this 32 to play a little bit of spoiler here tonight on this finish. But I got to say, for Eric Warman, who once again has had such a consistent season so far, trying to grab his 2nd top 5 if he can stay in 5th place. But 54 is the driver to watch as he gets by now by Andrew St. Clair.
Great pass for him, for Bowie there to get past St. Clair there, who it got behind the 71 and just wasn't able to get any opportunity to get past him, and now has even brought the 24 back in. So this group very much close together, and then ahead of them is about a 1.5 seconds up the road to Christopher Leftwich in that 6th position, as our front 6 right now, about 6 seconds separating that front 6. So we'll see if the 54 can get this pass done, and then we'll have to see what lap times are, because I think that'll be a telltale sign to see how far he could possibly go forward.
Speaking about going forward, I mean, Zach, I'm looking at the last time a lot of these drivers hit pit road. It's over 50 laps ago for the majority of this field from the last time that they pitted. I know that they're working with a 70% fuel load. I don't know if you have the number on fuel, but I'm curious for this field. One, they would think about potentially what could be their final pit stop of the night if it's under green, or if the majority of this field is banking on a caution that could take them to the end.
Well, I'll tell you, I think with a 70% fuel load, they're not going to be able to stretch it out. I don't think that. I still think they're too far out for that. So they will start to have to consider that, Sam. I mean, especially once we get to about 100, lap 100, that's 35 to go. That's not much time to make up ground. I mean, yes, it's a 30-second lap time around this racetrack, so it's close to around 1.5 miles in distance, or when it comes to the lap time distance, but it's still, that's a very limited amount of time. He'll hold on to his own buoy. He's going to hold on to his cars. He got loose trying to get past Adam Thompson. At 54 looks quick, but at any moment, that thing can just step out sideways. Even when we saw the contact earlier between him and the 8, it was so light, it just sent him around.
It's off of 4. I mean, I know that both sides of this track, it's so difficult to get off of 2 cleanly and off of 4 cleanly, but it just seems like the exit of 4 has been the danger zone for most of the night for a lot of these drivers. And Bowie once again trying to hold on. Looks a lot cleaner that go around as these laps continue to tick away. Still Brandon 6 up front. Millett going to be 2nd, 3rd is Fetter Place. Horn 4th, 5th is Eric Warman. As the field continues to race on. Looking at some of the closest battles out on track, I would say the grouping for 19th, 20th, and 21st, they're probably one of the closer pairings of drivers. You got the likes of Dixon as well as Wilkerson that we hop on board with. And in front of them, leading this pod of 3, is Steven Manomo. And looking at the 28, a big wiggle for a moment. I thought maybe he was going to attempt to go into pit road, but instead just did not feel comfortable off the exit 4.
Just lost that rear there right before he was about to step on the gas, and that's a scary feeling to have. But great job by Wilkerson there to hold on to that machine, as now he'll have to reset back up and maybe allow the 03 at Brian Dixon to attack the 9 of Bonomo. Maybe you could find a way to follow that 03 through, as now the 03 does look to the inside of the 9.
Trying to aim to go to the inside. And another thing of note, talking about fuel, as all these battles continue on, usually when we look at the best laps for these drivers, we're setting up our last lap that they ran to their best lap. Usually it's anywhere from a second and a half. Some tracks, it's 2 seconds difference. For our top driver, there's only about 0.8 of a second off of one another, and that's trying to get by at times lap traffic, and other times it's little mistakes. I'm curious, Zach, if maybe there's other factors that could be changing up for these lap times being so close to their best times and not a lot of follow-up.
Well, we could possibly see this weather as we pop that up on the bottom right of our screen. It's 69-degree ambient air temperature out there with an 80-degree track temp. I'm pretty sure we've went down from the start of this race. So this track not only gaining some rubber, but also gaining some grip from the cooling of the conditions. We do have some pretty strong winds out there, but I will say, usually this track tending to get a little better. We get a little more rubber on the racetrack too, that continues to make the tire wear not as bad as what we see earlier, and those lap times don't drop off as much. So definitely not seeing too much fall off from the front few, but some others definitely starting to see big amounts of fall off.
As all 3 lanes being utilized there, as Wilkerson, Bonomo, and Dixon giving us a masterclass showing of what this track can show. And the wind just, I mean, Zach, maybe that was the reason why we were seeing such bizarre spin outs, because it dropped from about 10 degrees and then ramped up to almost 18 miles per hour. These drivers were dealing with that wind speed. That is ridiculous speed that we're seeing just from the wind alone.
That is some of the highest amount of wind I've seen on iRacing. So, yeah, and when you get those big gusts of wind too, these cars, the aero that flows underneath the rear, the underfloor of these cars is so important. You get some air flowing a little bit of an opposite way, it takes away downforce from the rear end, and immediately it can suck the rear end up off the ground and lose all the traction you had.
As we are closing in closer and closer to the end of this race, some drivers look like they try to stretch out the fuel and put it under a last caution just for a top off. Others have yet to pit since lap 30. We continue to watch and see how this could change up, but for us up in the booth, this is going to be our final commercial break of the night as these drivers continue to go back and forth on when would be the right time to pit, or do you wait for a caution? We can't wait to see how this race is going to conclude, but we'll take our final commercial break of the evening. We will be back right after this for more great Shoney Doghouse Cup Series racing for your Group 6 135 at New Hampshire. Thanks for joining with us. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Zach Hall, and running productions in the background, as always, is going to be Robert Moyer Jr. As drivers are currently in the middle of green flag pit stops, and a couple of drivers shocking me with the decision to hit pit road. Others continuing to stay out. It might be banking on that caution flag to be thrown soon. One of those that's shocking, and Zach, we were kind of talking about the strategy calls that some drivers could do as we were in a commercial break. Brandon Bowie hits pit road, and he will not be trying to stretch the fuel out, even though he was part of the grouping that pitted under our last caution about 40 laps ago.
That tells me I don't think that they're very confident on fueling then, so I think that means a lot of drivers up front will probably have to make a pit stop pretty quickly, due to the fact that, you know, they're pretty far into their run. They're about 70 laps on the stint for our front six right now. So we'll see if that changes some things up. Of course, we had plenty of yellow flags there through that portion of the race to help them save fuel, but we'll see how far before we see the likes of our leader pit. I think a lot of these drivers just don't want to pit because they know you go a lap down here, that caution comes out, that could
It really can. Also, we know drivers, if they come into pit road, they take 4 tires and fuel. They're going to be naturally faster than our leader, but why not gain a couple of more extra time on the leaders by just taking 2 tires? That's what Brandon Bowie just did. 2 tires for the 54, massive gain on time. He's ahead of all drivers that have already pitted.
That he is. This is going to be wild to see how the 2 tires work out for him too, to see how much of a time gain does he get. So yeah, he's got Nicholas Schnell, who's about entering the 3 right now, so about a straightaway back from Nicholas Schnell before he's the first car 1 lap down. So that's where he really wants to get to, and if not there, get all the way back to his teammate Brandon 6, who's heading off into 1 right now to get his lap back.
And still a few more drivers need to go into pit road before this race is over. Another one that hits pit road going to be Jamie Horn in the 98 machine, as he was up in 4th place. Eric Gorman going to be following with suit into pit road as well. Our top 3, still the question, when are they going to make their stops? Being Brandon 6, Zach Millett, as well as Brandon Fetterplace. Those have been your top 3 all night long. They qualified in the top spots, and they have stayed there. The question is, how is lap traffic and the rest of the field going to survive this run? Because we're now seeing that major closing rate of old tires to new, and we've already seen when they were on the same set of tires, on the same distance that they've worked on, the closing rate on that was incredible at times. Having a little bit of extra grip certainly is going to make things more chaotic.
That it will be. So pit stops happening now for our leader, Brandon 6. Let's see who's going to follow him. Looks like Fetterplace, Millett, all of those 3 of those drivers, top 3, elect to come in, and many of the others. So I think it couldn't wait too much longer.
Absolutely not. And looking at the field, the drivers that decided to stay out, that topped off on fuel, it's going to be Jeremiah Stutzman, Daniel Wilkerson, and Ryan Dixon that are going to be your top 3 drivers currently. How long they stay in those top spots, I'm not expecting it to be very long, as we've got ourselves 30 laps to go, and they've only got a 9-second gap between Stutzman back to Brandon 6. 6 looks strong, and then if you fall back even more, it's still a 4-second difference between Brandon Bowie, who pitted 6 laps sooner than 6, and even when taking 2 tires and shortening the time that way, still wasn't enough to try to catch that 06 machine. Just has been too dominant tonight.
Wow, what a statement for Brandon 6 here. That's for sure great for him. And I mean, if anything, Bowie is right behind Zach Millett, so who was in that 2nd position, you know, running really some quick laps. So Bowie has a chance to fight for a top 5 if he can just stay with it, especially the likes of Fetterplace. He's way ahead of that grouping, so we'll see how this all does continue to shake out. But for the time being, Stutzman, Wilkerson staying out along with Brandon Dixon out here, still electing to stay out in the field.
Stay out, and we almost had ourselves a caution flag being thrown. Andy Court, one of the drivers that pitted sooner than everyone else, major contact on the front stretch, and is just puttering around on the apron for himself to get into pit road. Also another driver that's struggling with pace, that's going to be Nicholas Atwood, who also found himself spinning out on the entry of turn 1. Looked like could have been a money shift for the 19, blown engine heading into turn number 1.
So tough with all the shifting you do. It's easy to almost sometimes, you know, get too much of a shift, go from 4th to 2nd, and I think that's probably what took Nicholas Atwood out, was just a bad downshift. So tough ordeal there for him, but that's one thing that happens when you're playing with shifting all night long like you are here in New Hampshire. This flat track is watching that 8 right now on Leftwich. He made his pit stop about 2 laps ago, running right now in the 8th position, so pretty much fully almost cycled through, other than the top 2 who have yet to, the top 2 have yet to pit.
Yeah, we had about 4 drivers in total, top 2 still yet to pit. Joining them also would be in 4th place of the 03 of Brian Dixon, as well as Nicholas Schnell in 7th position, still yet to pit. But if you're Brandon 6, You can see your leaders that you're running down currently in front of you, about a little bit less than 2.5 seconds. In each lap, it has been a second gain by 6 onto our top 2 that have been right on top of one another of Stutzman and Wilkerson, taking the gamble to stay out with the extra little bit of fuel that they could top on, hoping that it was going to be enough, but looks like tires going to be important than fuel at the end of the day if we continue to stay green.
It does. This tires are looking very, very quick. I mean, the speed difference is quite, drastic. So you'll see here quickly. Look at the 06 just rolling the middle groove with the 28 of Daniel Wilkerson right there with him. Jeremiah Stutzman coming up off the corner. It's going to be next lap, and he'll be by both of these cars.
I mean, for Brandon 6, he just looks just as smooth as he did during qualifying, able to get by Wilkerson. Now going to be to the quarter panel of the 22 of Stutzman. Falls in line, but setting up for the pass here into turn number 3. And Stutzman is trying some of the most reckless attempts to stay up front with these very aggressive send in the corners and hope you don't hit the outside wall off the exit. But it's Brandon 6 back to the point, being up front and trying to attempt to grab his 3rd win of the season and continuing on his streak of every race he's shown up for. He's finished instead of the top 5 for those races. He's got 4 starts, 4 top 5s, 4 top 10s, and 2 wins. He wants to continue on building on those stats here in his 5th start of the season.
That's for sure. I mean, he came out right out the gate with 2 wins in a row, so it was kind of downhill for him after that a little bit. Even though it was great runs, he possibly wanted to continue that streak. It looks like tonight he might get very well right back into it. But I tell you what, we'll be coming around this next time by. It's going to be 20 laps to go here. The caution flag flies. Things can get crazy here in New Hampshire.
It certainly could. I think for the rest of the field, all those positions would be wide open on where they run. I think for the lead, unless everyone finds a way to pit and Brandon 6 doesn't for tires, or they flip-flop it and they can find a way to force this 6 deeper in the field, I don't know if anyone's really going to have anything to stop him. But in the middle of the field, if we are going to see a caution, it would be around 8th place currently, because they're trying to get by lap cars. It's Steve Minomo's acting slow. Also, you have Brian Dixon on extremely old tires compared to the rest of the field. There's contact with Wilkerson into the 03. Better Place finds the opening. The 34 takes the chance. Opportunity was open, and he'll take that position up to 7th place.
Great move from Better Place there to get that done. Is now the 8's going to drive it in there, gets close to the quarter panel, but behind him, the 03 struggling on those older tires here, getting swamped by a group of drivers. Looks like Eric Warman will go by now. Also, as the 71 of Thompson found his way around too.
And it looks like for Steve Minomo, just trapped behind the 03 and hasn't found a way to get by. That's been the troublesome spot for Minomo, as Dixon now will fall all the way down to 11th place, when if he had pitted with everyone else, could have been fighting inside of our top 10 confidently. Instead, he's floundering just to stay inside of our top 15 before this race is over, as Andrew St. Cour now making the fight to go for a chance for a top 10 finish.
St. Cour doing a great job here rebounding, through this halfway point of the race, and really is after that early point of getting caught in that wreck, been a great job for him to salvage what could have been a very tough night. As up ahead, Richard Leclerc very slow on the bottom. There's the 71 Thompson now looks to the inside of the 31 Eric Warman. Let's see who's going to have the pace here. Warman about 2 lap fresher tires. The Thompson, the 71 gets loose. He's going to go to the barrels.
Barrels contact, and that's going to bring up the late caution that if you're Brandon 6, you didn't want to see, but if you're everyone else, this breathes new life for a chance for a better finish.
Oh man, this is going to definitely liven up the finish a little bit here, as 6 was about 7 seconds ahead of everybody. Thompson, though, going around there off of 4 like we've seen tonight. 4 has been a big issue, as he got loose off of 2 that time, but that same lap. So maybe a little heat on the rear tires there didn't help this exit for him, but he's going to take a quite significant ride here, as he's going to exit off the corner, and the barrels were looming. But fortunately for him, it doesn't seem like it was too big of a hit. It seems like he's going to be able to, at least line back up and try to gain some spots back.
You never want to T-bone where the barrel is at. That is something you never want to do. But if you're gonna T-bone it and hit it, you better hit square right on the passenger door, and that's exactly where the 71 hit. Avoids the wheel well. That's the most critical parts of either the back or front wheel well was avoided, and now will give a chance for some of these drivers here tonight. Hard decision. Do you pit? Do you stay out? Which advantage do you feel like you really need? And it looks like it's going to be everyone from 5th on back. Pit road is calling. That's going to leave 6, Milton, Bowie, Fetter Place, Old Tires for themselves. Everyone else, 4 tires and fuel, and we'll see if they've got a chance with this extra grip.
I like this call from a lot of drivers farther back. No reason not to risk it, in my opinion, to come down here. We got drivers on about 15, 20 laps, 25 lap old tires up here up in this front group. This is going to make things quite interesting, and it looks like the first driver to come off pit road is going to be Jamie Horn too, who's shown some strong speed tonight, kind of faded in this last half of this race. Let's see if Horn, using those 4 tires, can get himself in the mix. Actually, sorry, he may have took 2 because it was a 9.7 stop.
It was 2 tires, and I was just about to throw that at you, Zach, of what we saw Brandon Bowie attempt 2 tires. It didn't look like it was that successful for himself, and it looks like for the 98, he's going to attempt the 2-tire call.
Very definitely interesting. We'll see how he can hook those tires up. Yeah, Bowie made it work pretty well. And I mean, now Bowie's going to be up in 3rd with those 2 tires too. So, I mean, he must have liked them enough to stay out on them. So we'll see how Jamie Horn is able to use that to his advantage, because he had a very quick car to start this race off.
Also, another driver that is going to stay out with our top 4 going to be in 5th place, Cameron King, deciding to stay out on track. And we'll see how the 92 is going to be attempting this go around for himself, as everyone else in the field, 4 tires in fuel from 7th on back. Horn taking 2 tires. This restart's going to be critical, and also Adam Thompson, due to being the reason of the caution, going to be finding himself with an EOL to start the end of the line for this restart. I know he's not very happy about it. It's been something that these drivers know. Hey, if you cause the caution, you're going to the end of the line, which this is going to take away, I think, Zach, a little bit of that pure aggression of, I might move a guy out of the way to gain a spot here late in this race.
It very well could. This is going to be quite interesting, I'd tell you, as they get him re-wrecked back up here. Looks like caution lights are out, as we're going to be going back green next time by. And when we go green, it'll be 12 to go. That is, not a bunch of time for these drivers on the newer tires to get stuff done. But I will say it also kind of bodes well for them, because I think if you're Brandon 6, Zach Millett, Brandon Fetterplace, Brandon Bowie, Cameron King, who all stayed out here, you've kind of made your bed. If you get a quick caution here or something like that, there's no real chance for you to come to pit road and gain those spots back with everybody who just came to pit road. So I think it is now going to be old tires versus new tires.
Well, as we get ready for this restart, it could be our final one of the night. I want to say thank you to Shoney's for being the primary sponsor. True Patriot Apparel and Gifts. Remember, when purchasing, use the promo code DOGHOUSE10. That's the number 10. Also want to say thank you to SSR Designs, Butt Kicker, Nap Daddy Designs, and tonight's race sponsor of Group 6 for our Group 6 135 here at New Hampshire. Great launch up front for 6. Everyone else looks to be a little bit scattered, not as clumped up as I think the rest of the field would hope for. It's going to be Millett as well as Fetter Place. How do they run down this 06 machine that's been so dominant here tonight?
The 06, he is shot out of cannon. I mean, all night long, just been so fast, the class in the field. But it's going to be the first driver on fresh tires, the 98 of Jamie Horn. Can he get the momentum to pull himself up to 5th place here off the exit on turn 4? But looks like that nose damage is really holding that 98 back down the straightaways.
And multiple drivers involved with one another. They'll stay clean and green, but it looked to be contact between Anderson and Core as well as a few others as Bowie gets slight contact. They keep it together as Horn able to continue his charge forward, but there's a couple of drivers further on back, Zach, that are just not able to get the traction. A lot of bumping and banging happening as everyone's trying to find an advantage to move forward.
Looking for every little thing possible as Warman, who's had a great run all night, trying to make his way back forward as he's going to dive to the inside of the 8 of Chris Leftwich. He'll make that move on him, but now we to the inside of Jeremiah Stutzman, who's been up in no man's land all night, up in that 5th groove, making it work.
And I'm trying to look through this field of who really has the speed that could try to run down our top leaders as Warman drifting through the corner and somehow no contact with no other drivers. I don't know how he did not get clipped, but we continue to race on, and Wilkerson will take that advantage, now up to 9th place.
I mean, that was inches between multiple drivers right there for Eric Warman. He's going to drop back after one of those tires up, and now be fighting back here in the middle of the Hornets nest, so to say, back in the field. So Warman, tough break for him, but a great save at the same time.
I also want to give kudos to the 43 of Eric Anderson. I mean, at one moment he had fallen all the way almost outside of our top 20, and he's done a great job to recover to be inside of our top 15 and almost to our top 10. The way we're seeing that 43 try to work his way forward, it's been a great charge so far. And looking at the last lap times here, Zach, Jamie Horn is slightly faster than Brandon 6. Issue, he's in 3rd place, a second back. Still has time, just not a lot that you would hope to have to try to run down that 06 machine.
He's got speed, time not on the side though, like you were saying, Sam. Yeah, time is just not there with 7 to go. He's going to have to get around this 35 very quickly, and the only hope he has is that those older tires up ahead will continue to heat up a little quicker. Those air pressures start to get back in line, and his tires will start to show their age a little bit more and maybe have a shot. I think that nose damage isn't helping that 98 either, but let's see what he's got. He's going to have to quickly get this done, but it looks like a little tight off the exit there. That dirty air playing a factor as he's going to lose some time on that lap.
And looking at the lap times again, it's just Horn. Horn is the only one that can catch up, but hey, let's get a restart. Oh no, it's Eric Anderson spun around. We're gonna have a restart here, and Zach, with the timing of it, this is gonna be the awkward form of this could be inside the inside the regulation, green-white checkered, or this could put us into overtime. It's gonna be close for these drivers.
It's gonna be very, very close. And Eric Anderson, like you said, was the driver that was involved in this latest yellow, and it was very, very close for him of taking out the inside wall pit barrels and a few other drivers with him. As he's going to come to 3 and 4 here, up high on this group, going to get loose. Nicholas Snell barely going to miss him, and he's just going to clip that inside wall, just missing the front of those barrels. So that is a tough break for Anderson, who last season was one of our hottest drivers to end the season. It's just been a tough break here throughout the majority of this season.
You know, with the 3-week break, I thought, you know what, let's try to be more confident, talking about praising drivers on how they're running late. Obviously, the commentator's curse still existing. I want to say my apologies to you, Anderson, after praising how well you were looking on your recovery run, then caught up in that wreck. We hope for the great return, if possible, here for this next restart. But speaking about this next restart, I'm looking at the field. A lot of these drivers have already taken their final set of tires. Couple of them up front still have a set left. I don't think anyone's going to pit, but Zach, this is critical on what decisions do you make if you're in the middle of the field and you still do have a set left to work with.
It's going to be, yeah, that's going to be a huge question. I think a lot of those drivers made their beds, so they continue to stay out just because of how much track position you would give up. I think Jonathan Smith was the only driver that came down. He's 4 laps down. So, yeah, everybody electing to stay out here. Now Brandon 6, the question is, where does he want to restart? How is he going to restart this? Because now you have Horn, who's in 3rd. He's going to be in that 2nd row. Do you start up top, the pin, the 35 in front of him? I think that might be the game plan you want to go with. Or do you start down low and let that 98 start with you down low and get the good, launch beside the 35 and have the opportunity to get by? So it's a lot of questions. I think if you're Brandon 6, he's probably going to be trying to take this outside on this restart.
Yeah, and we wait for the indication of if the lights go off now. It's inside the regulation, green, white, checkered. It looks like they're still on, Zach. We are heading to overtime. Overtime rules, very different. If I remember correctly, we're only going to have 1 attempt at overtime for tonight's race, which is going to put this field in that awkward scenario of, well, you better be perfect now.
Very, very true. Yeah, you better be perfect now. So this is definitely going to be an awkward scenario, to say the least. So you gotta really figure out how to get it done on this restart. If you get it wrong on this restart, it could be your race over.
For Brandon 6, he's the most confident on this restart. He's had the most of control vehicle restarts on the night. I think we've only had one other driver be the leader on a restart, and that was Jeremiah Stutzman when he took the gamble after our second caution of the day and stayed out there for a few extra laps just to lead a lap and then also be the control vehicle. Brandon 6, though, looks like he is staying low. That is where he wants to be. He does not want to give an opportunity for Millet to have a chance to keep it side by side through the corner. So we wait for the pace car lights to go off. It will turn off, and we officially enter into overtime. We have one overtime attempt here this evening. It's going to be simple. It is a green-white checker. 2 laps to go when we go green. If we complete the first lap without a caution flag being thrown, we will conclude this race. But that's when we take the white flag. Anything goes. Cautions won't be thrown. It's all about who crosses the line first. But if we get a caution on this first lap, it will be deemed based off of iRacing, where the drivers were at the time of yellow, on where drivers will finish. Zach, any final thoughts before we go into this last restart of the night?
Well, Horn has the perfect storm and perfect scenario for him. If he can time this restart, get alongside the 35, get clear of him off of 2, he has a shot at this 06.
Find the timing, find the space, and hopefully you can find a group that best helps you. Go to Group6Inc.com to go get your service looked at. As we find ourselves in the last restart of the evening, here we go. It's overtime. Horn's able to get side by side with Millet, but it's going to be Brandon 6 already going to be 2-3 car lengths ahead down in turn number 1. Here we go, Zach off of turn number 2. Overtime. Can they keep it together? Horn makes contact with Millet off the exit of the corner. They're still being Megan. There's still contact. They keep it straight. No, they're all wrecking around. Oh my goodness. Horrific wrecks on the back stretch, but somehow we're still green.
Somehow we're still green. The 8 is destroyed, and we're staying green here as the white flag's coming out.
Brandon 6 sees the white flag. He's got 2 more attempts to watch people try to find a way to catch up to him, but they're too far back. It's 8 tenths all the way back to Brandon Bowie, Brandon Fetterplace, Millet, the 4 drivers that have looked the strongest all night long. Gonna be your top 4 down into turn number 3. With the horrific wreck on that first lap of this overtime, it looks picture perfect off the exit of 4. Brandon 6 continues his streak of 5 races started, 5 top 5s with 3 wins in total. What a finish for the 6, but what a wreck on that restart, Zach.
Wild stuff there. Yeah, the Jamie Horn there. Contact between him and Zach Millet coming off the exit of 2, and I mean, it just all broke loose right there. And I mean, the 8 of Christopher Leftwich, I mean, he got launched into the inside barrier.
Here is the replay of this incident. Again, it all started up front, kind of just went through the whole entire field of everyone trying to check up, see if they were going to save it, and baiting and banging all around. There goes Horn, gets into the 8 machine, who hits a bump, it looks like, ricochets off the tire wall and shipped off back into the field. A few other drivers also had some bad incidents, but here is the true driver that just had the horrific incident. It's going to be Christopher. It's going to be seen Leftwich just nowhere to go. Hits the lip of the road course on this track that just sends them scattering around the field, lands on all 4, and tries his best to get around the track even with the blown engine.
He tried his best, but the hood is blocking his vision. Leftwich fighting for everything there. That was tough because he was having such a good run tonight, and it just happens. Sometimes you have these green-white checkers, and next thing you know it, you're looking at your hood.
And luckily the hood went down, but at this point the engine was kaput, and tried his best to ramp it forward. But the one driver that doesn't have to worry about those wrecks behind him because it all happened from second on back. It's the 06 of Brandon 6. He's going to enjoy this one. His 3rd win of the season and continues to grow his points lead. 6 is going to be your winner, but when we come back, we got the post-race show. We'll talk to Brandon 6, Brandon Bowie, and Brandon Fetterplace right after this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the post-race show on Freaky Fast Broadcasting for the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series. Your 2024 Season 2 race number 6 is in the books. Your Group 6 135 winner goes to Brandon 6. But going 1, 2, 3 is Brandon. We'll talk to those three currently as we go to victory lane to go talk to the driver with the most wins this season. Now with 3 and continues on. If he starts the race, he's going to get a top 5 and a top 10. Brandon, it is Sam and Zach up in the booth. Man, how are you feeling? Because this looked like one of your most dominant wins so far this season.
Yeah, feeling really good actually. This is probably my favorite track to come to in the NASCAR schedule. I don't know why. It kind of just suits my driving style, and it's kind of one of those tracks where I like, because you have to be super aggressive on entry, but then you kind of have to be like super delicate on exit. It's kind of a very fine line with this track, and I don't know why. I love it.
It definitely showed tonight, Brandon, man. What a dominant performance. Congrats on a 3rd win. I mean, we saw a lot of people struggling with, exits to the corner. You talk about being delicate. How were you able to make it look so easy out there off those exits?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, just setting up the entry through center. I mean, center is kind of the key to this track. If you can roll the center, you can be easier on exit, and you don't have to mash the throttle. I mean, I really didn't have to go full throttle until exit to really try and protect the right rear tire and kind of keep it good on the long run. The only thing I noticed with my setup is right in the last like 5 to 10 laps, it kind of started getting really tight on me. But outside of that, the car was really good tonight, and obviously all the hard work and everything we do here at Bowie Esports.
I mean, Bowie Esports as a team, you guys looked very good throughout the night. I'm curious, Brandon, for yourself and maybe for the team. I know you had the extra 2 weeks because of the hurricanes that were going on that delayed the season. Make sure everyone was okay. For the Bowie Esports team, though, how are you guys able to maybe get a little bit of extra testing in to prepare for these upcoming races?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we didn't put a ton more time into testing. So we had it set up and ready to go for when we were supposed to run it a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, with the hurricanes, hopefully everyone's okay in that situation. Obviously, don't like to see that and that terrible situation, but yeah, for the most part, we kind of start focusing on the next handful of tracks that we're going to come to, and hopefully we can work on getting some wins there at those tracks as well.
We got a feeling you guys are going to be the team to watch out for. Brandon, before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout outs.
Yeah, I just got to thank the team, obviously, BOE Sports, all the hard work we do. Obviously, you guys for putting on the broadcast, and then obviously, a shout out to all the people who obviously was affected by the hurricanes, and hopefully they're doing okay, and hopefully able to get through the recovery as soon as possible.
We're hoping for the same. Well, Brandon, congratulations on your 3rd win this season. Enjoy it, and good luck next week at Michigan.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
You too. That's going to be your Group 6 135 winner of Brandon 6. Going to be enjoying that one. We now move to 2nd place to a driver that was able to minimize at least the amount of points damage of having 6 win. We've got Brandon Bowie with us. I mean, Brandon, you are always, I was looking at the stats. You have the worst average of starting position because you usually like to start in the back. But your average of finish is just incredible to watch on that difference of gap. How are you feeling, though, with the up and down night you had and still coming away with 2nd?
Yeah, that was a hard one for me. Usually I'm pretty decent in New Hampshire, but I struggled quite a bit. I honestly stayed in the back. I would try to get to the front, and I could, and I would end up just burning up my tires. So I tried to. I know a lot of guys were shifting, and I really couldn't do that because I just felt like I would be burning up my tires. I get too loose, hence why I got loose underneath the 8 and spun myself out. So after that, I just tried to just kind of manage my tires better and just try to be there at the end. We had that long green flag run, and when we had the green flag pit stops, I think I was sitting 10th, and I could not pass anybody. So the only option I had was I took 2, and after I took the 2, I think I came out behind Zach Millett, and or yeah, around him somewhere. And then I just was kind of hoping that to stay green. Caution came out, and then I think with what about 15 to go, and at that point I already knew like everybody's gonna pit, everybody's gonna try to get fresh tires, and it was just gonna be about just trying to not lose or minimize the amount of loss in positions. Um, and then I don't know what happened there. I think with Millet and the 98, I believe. I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but um, I did everything possible not to get collected in it and avoided it, and somehow squeaked out the top two. So I don't know how this keeps happening, but I'll take it. It's it's fun being surprised by the finish.
Definitely a great finish there for you, Brandon. Missing all of that there at the end, but like you said, you took 2 tires when you came down for your pit stop to gain that track position. Take us through that. How did that make your car feel?
Yeah, well, the taking the 2 tires wasn't as bad as I thought. I knew I was horrible on tire wear, so I said, well, with I think it was about 35 laps to go, if I could take 2 tires and if I fall back, just don't fall back to 10th where I was, and I would take that and just take that as a plus. But like I said, the cautions kind of fell in my favor. It's hard to say that, but it kind of did. And like I said, squeaked out of the top two, but the 2 tire thing wasn't too bad. I definitely didn't have the speed of Six or Millet, or I believe the 98 at that point, because I think he was pretty fast too. So I didn't have their speed. I could probably run with them for about half the fuel run, then I kind of level off, and they would just continue to pull away from me. So again, it was a long strategy play. I was just like, I don't know if it's gonna work or not. Hope it does. Kind of did, because I noticed that I could kind of hold my speed a little bit better with the 2 tires. So definitely, didn't think I would still finish, P2, but sometimes that happens. You're just going to take it and move on to the next race.
It's always nice to be lucky at times, but it's certainly you prove that you've got the skill all set up there, Bowie. We're now heading to Michigan next week before we take another week off with Halloween. What's your confidence level heading to Michigan? Because we got a feeling you are a driver that we know can get into victory lane. It's just but wait until the time that it's going to happen for yourself.
Yeah, I'm trying. I am, but also at the same time, I keep doing dumb stuff to myself to kind of prevent myself from being able to get in there and get a win. So Michigan is a fun track for me. Just also depends on just the track temp and everything like that. I'm kind of used to being able to kind of run the 3 lanes, especially, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So as long as we can do that, I think and just have the options to kind of move around, I think I have a good chance of actually finally getting a win. But there's a lot of fast guys still in here, and I know Michigan is probably circled by a lot of drivers in here, so it's not going to be easy. But we're definitely going to give it our all to see if we can grab one.
Well, we're excited to see how you're going to work your way up front, Bowie. Well, congratulations on second. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any other shout outs.
Yeah, gotta give a shout out to my sponsors, Boosted, Circle B Diecast, Battle Beaver, Gremlins Cards. You can check them out at tinyurl.com/Gremlins Cards. You can use promo code Bowie Esports 20 for 20% off there. I gotta thank the Bowie Esports guys. They once again just did what they need to do to get some good finishes here. Gotta thank you guys for putting on the broadcast. Gotta thank the league for allowing us to race at all. Thank the family and the man above.
Well, that will be our 54 machine of Brandon Bowie. Congratulations on second, Brandon. Enjoy this one and good luck next week at Michigan.
All right, thanks.
As we move our way from second place, we go down to third, where it was such a great battle for second. Ultimately, though, it's just a third place finish for Brandon Fetter Place. Brandon, I know you had an adventureful last restart there to come away third at the end of this thing. How are you feeling, though, after your performance this evening?
um, well, I feel away. I mean, I feel pretty good. Coming up with a third, um, I couldn't be happier. I kind of blew second there. I was just in shock on what partook there on the last lap. So I think I just missed my breaking point and let let Brandon by me, but it is what it is, right? So, hey, another top 3, I'll take it.
Definitely another strong run for you, Brandon. Congrats on that, man. I mean, we saw a lot of people struggle with the rear end of the race car coming up off the corner, entering the corner, center of the corner. How are you feeling tonight? You guys seem like y'all had it pretty hooked up, but did you ever have any big scares?
Oh yeah. It kind of depended on your throttle input, and you got into a rhythm, and you started clicking off pretty quick lap times, and if you weren't paying attention, if you touched that gas just a little bit too hard, it was gonna come around on you. So there was a lot of tire management, at least on my end. I didn't feel like I had the drive off that a lot of these guys did. I had the entry in the center. I was backing up my entry a little bit, and it gave me a really good center. But I had to tiptoe on exit. I feel like a lot of people did, just because of all the bumps and how these cars act. So, you know, I think everybody was just kind of letting it ride for a little bit, just trying not to end up into the fence.
Which ultimately we saw a lot of people in the fence there late on that restart. I mean, give us a breakdown on your point of view, Brandon, fighting between yourself and Horn, trying to get that second place finish, the best that you guys could coming out of turn number 2.
Well, and here's my thing. Jamie is a very fast driver. We've had a couple run-ins during this season, but I don't really have any ill will towards him. But that last little move right there was not ideal. He could have finished in the top 3, if not second or third. But for some reason, he decided to drive right into Millet, it looked like, and that's a shame. It really is. The 35 is a new car. He's a new driver. He's here to race and have fun, and he pretty much just about took the newcomer out just because he wanted that second place. And it's unfortunate. I hope that hopefully we take a look at that and we kind of fix that for next week and for the rest of the season. Again, no ill will. I just I think that was uncalled for.
It certainly was aggressive racing there at the end, but it was fun for us in the booth to call, that's for sure. But Brandon, before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any other extra shout outs.
Yeah, I just want to, obviously, thanks to Bowie Esports, all of us, we put in the time, we put in the work, practices, and, kind of getting ready for these races. So thanks to all their expertise and all their help. Thanks to the broadcast. I can't wait to go back and watch this and to see how y'all call it, because I have a great time watching these broadcasts. And thanks to the league, the league admins that make this happen for us every Thursday. And thanks to everyone who watched. So hopefully everyone enjoyed the show and be ready for Michigan.
Michigan certainly should be a good one. We can't wait for it. Congratulations once again, Brandon, on a third place finish. Enjoy this one and good luck next week at Michigan.
Thank you very much. We'll see you there.
As that will conclude our interviews here this evening. Your top 3 going to be the Brandons, Brandon 6, Bowie, and Fetter Place, as they got to see their teammates run well and the newcomer coming away in 4th. As take a look at our unofficial results here this evening. Again, I still don't know how we didn't get a caution flag thrown on that final lap, but it stayed green. Enabled some drivers to gain position, lose, but ultimately here's going to be our unofficial results as Brandon 6 comes away with his 3rd win of the season. Brandon Bowie comes in 2nd in points behind 6, and he'll finish 2nd, trying to keep that gap that he's lost in points and minimizing it. Brandon Fetter Place going to come away with 3rd. Debut race for Zach Millett going to be in 4th with Cameron King. One of his best finishes of the season in 5th place. Justin McMahon, he'll take that 10th place finish for the 24 machine. Christopher Simon 7th. 8th is Tyler Millett. Andrew St. Core going to come in 9th. And I think probably one of the biggest surprises, 10th place, Nicholas Schnell will take that final top 10 spot.
That's for sure. Yeah, he had a wild ride of a night for Nicholas Schnell, but you see as the rest of the orders click through. Jamie Horn there, that's where it all popped off there right at the end. Coming off a 2, he's going to end up 14th after all of that, restarting in the 2nd row. Coming in tough break for himself. Christopher Lethwich, we saw him take a ride there in 17th. He looked through the rest of the field. Definitely some tough nights for a lot of drivers, but our defending series champion, Kevin Thompson, I think stands out more than anything. 27th tonight, 80 laps down, just was not his night for sure.
It absolutely wasn't. Other drivers that missed out, Mark Dumont and Joe McKnight, both missing the initial start of the race. Only 27 drivers taking the green. But tonight's race certainly was a fun one to call. Lots of green flag racing, which is always fun at New Hampshire to see drivers and the ways that they've had to learn, react to keep those tires in peak condition late. But for the field overall, had to go into overtime. We saw a lot of that last season, and I know some drivers, they don't like going to overtime. But if you like seeing racing in general, well, we got you covered throughout the week as we've got our schedule here of what next week should look like. We got the ISRC Truck Series inching closer and closer to the end of their regular season to prepare for the playoffs. You don't want to miss it as we're back to 1.5 mile racing at Charlotte. Then on Tuesday night, we're back to more racing action. A brand new week, a brand new round, I should say. The round of 8 begins for the Challenger Racing League. Heard there's a lot more drivers showing up, so we should have a broadcast this upcoming Tuesday, Wednesday with the WSSR Cup Series. We are off until November 6th, and we are back with the new season, a season 10. We'll see how those drivers want to set up for the next gens, and then next going to be Thursday, we're back with more racing action for the Shoney Doghouse Cup Series at Michigan. Full schedule, we're excited to have it back up in just a few weeks. We'll be back to 4 races a week.
It's definitely going to be fun to see when we get back up to 4 races a week, man. It's going to be a action-packed time. It's definitely been a little bit slow here lately with everything going on, all the hurricanes again. We hope everybody through the recovery from all that is going well, and definitely a tough ordeal to be put through. So hopefully everybody with that situation, everything's starting to heal up a little bit, but man, oh man, we're definitely going to get down to some great action here in these next few weeks.
We certainly are. We cannot wait for it. But for tonight, thank you so much for joining with us, giving you the coverage of the Shoney Doghouse Cup Series as race number 6 is in the books. Your Group 6 135 winner going to be Brandon 6. Oh, the 6s just line up, it seems like, for tonight's race as we will find ourselves calling it an evening here on Thursday night. For myself, Sam Dyer, for Zach Hall, for Robert Moyer Jr., and everyone else here and Freaky Fast Broadcasting, we want to say thank you for watching, commenting, just being someone who views throughout the night. We appreciate it so much. If you enjoyed our coverage of the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series or any of the other series we cover, remember to hit that subscribe button and like button to let us be notified if you're liking the show that we offer. And if you want to see more great racing action, like we said, we got you throughout the week. But for the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series, guys, we will be back next week. That's right, no more off weeks for at least 2 weeks as we head to Michigan. And then we will find ourselves with some more, just trying to get back into the rhythm here for the Doghouse Cup Series. But if you can't wait until next Thursday for these drivers or just see racing in general, we'll see you Monday night. That will be our next Freaky Fast broadcast.